Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. It is Monday night, December. I don't even know. I don't even care. All I know, it is less than 24 hours ago, the Dallas Cowboys defeated, embarrassed the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football for the entire world to see. I cannot wait to see, Aiden, what the numbers were. We are always going back and forth of how big the draw was for the Eagles this year, for the Cowboys this year. I can only imagine what that Sunday night game last night did in numbers. I know what it did for me. I know what it did for you. Oh, you know what? Usually we record our episodes. I know you went live last night immediately after the game. I'm old. I couldn't. So I was like, we're going to go live. And I also didn't want to because I have a baby who sleeps right above me. And if I would have been screaming. So I said, let's do it tonight. We go live on our YouTube page, on Twitter to react to the game. And I just told my wife before I walked in here, I'm usually calm. I'm usually cool. I'm usually collected. I'm usually respectful of the Eagles. Not tonight. Tonight's a different story. I can't wait to go in.
Yeah, weird how that happens.
I will be respectful for you, but not the Eagles.
Okay, fair enough. I thought that's where we were going, that I was just going to get roasted. It's funny. Sometimes, the Cowboys lose and you're baking cookies and having family time. And then when they win, you're around. You're
I was
ready to
baking
roll.
cookies yesterday.
Exactly. You had the cookies fucking ready to go if they lost.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
But they didn't. My first point here, let's just get into this. We can take Jalen Hurts' name off the MVP race. It's done. It's over. It's done.
I think I can be objective here. I think there are a lot of points that we're going to argue on tonight. The Jalen Hurts MVP conversation, he was the MVP. He would have been MVP last year. This was not an MVP season. That doesn't bother me, and I think that's the right thing. And I think that tarnishes the award if he would have won this year. Now, if he would have played really well last night, beat the Cowboys, had 4 touchdowns, then he should have been MVP. But it just hasn't felt like an MVP season, and I think it would kind of ruin the award, because then we'd be saying, oh, well, it's like Tyreek Hill is obviously having a better season. We're just handing it to a quarterback now, just because it's a quarterback award. And I think it would have kind of tarnished it for the purposes of the award.
Yep.
Well, I'm okay with that, his name not being on there. I don't.
Tyreek Hill is in my top 3 right now. I mean, I think you could argue he's in the top 2, and it's ridiculous that he's 500 yards away from 2,000, and it's week 14.
He could break Calvin Johnson's record for receiving yards in a single season. I feel like that has to warrant some consideration for MVP. I always look at it like this: take the player off the team, and what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, one, Dak should be there because I think he's running the show, and I think that's the point that you're getting at. And to an extent, if you took Jalen Hurts off and put Mariota in, this team would be a lot worse, but it's not good enough to warrant it. But if you take Tyreek Hill off the Dolphins, what is that offense? He creates everything for them from the wide receiver position. It's dominant. He should be there. And I think Lamar is a name that's kind of going under the radar, but had 316 passing, 70 on the ground, and 3 touchdowns yesterday. Overtime win. Has a primetime game next week. I think he's the biggest challenge to Dak Prescott for MVP.
See, I think Purdy's up there too, just because of what the 49ers are doing. His name is going to be up there.
True.
But is he one? I think it's Dak, and I'm not saying Dak's a bona fide one right now. I think just the names in the conversation should be Dak, Tyreek, Lamar, Purdy, and then I guess you get to Hurts.
I don't
I
don't know if there's just no ground to make up for Hurts. Like when you're watching the Kentucky Derby and there's a horse in the back, and it's like, well, there's no lane for him to get to the front of the pack. There's too many horses in front of him. That's kind of how I feel. So there's nothing he can do.
I got to bring this up. Last year, Philly content creators, mainstream media, what did they talk about all season? What did they care about all season? Dak's turnovers. I think we need to talk about Jalen Hurts' turnovers. The interception didn't happen last night, but he fumbled again. He's been fumbling almost his entire career. He's second or third in the league in turnovers this year?
He's got to be up there. I do think there's something to it. This happens in basketball a lot. Like the guys who lead the league in turnovers are always like Giannis, Luka, like guys who are just handling the ball nonstop. I think that applies to Jalen Hurts as well. But I'm not defending him for the fumble last night. The way the game started, I talked about this in the live show last night, was pathetic. Nothing changed from last week, where it was 3 missed tackles, 100% on third down conversion for the Cowboys, including a walk-in touchdown for CeeDee Lamb. You get the ball, you're penalized 3 times, and then your quarterback fumbles. I'm just not going to sit here and defend the pathetic effort from them where it's a lack of focus and a lack of energy. I've sat through bad Philadelphia teams as a Philly sports fan where there's no talent. And I can live with that if there isn't talent, if there's a plan. This team has talent. And there are issues for sure. But last night, I was so bothered by the energy. And right away with the fumble on their first series. It's a great example.
I loved it. The energy was great for me.
It was great. That's what bothers me so much. Like the Cowboys came with the right energy. And the Eagles, it was like they watched the pregame show where they had the political guy doing the fucking electoral map saying, well, even if they lose this game, look at their percentages. They could still win the division. They could still be the 1 seed. It was like that was on the pregame speech in the locker room, and they came out and played with that energy. I can't handle that. I just can't.
And it's just a bad way to play football, right? I mean, I think that's definitely in the back of their head, like, all right, we already beat this team once. They're rolling. We haven't won in Dallas in about 43 years. But if we lose, all we have to do is beat 4 bum teams and we win the division.
Yes, except the flaw with that logic is the 1 bum team is Seattle, which could probably be 0-14, and they still struggle when they go to Seattle. They have not won in Seattle in my lifetime, I don't think.
I will tell you what, and I watched it single-handedly last week on Thursday night. If you think, I mean, it all depends, if Geno plays or not. But like those 3 wide receivers are going to give your secondary a hell of a day.
I think if you, and your 2-year-old daughter Emma lined up in the slot, we could give this secondary a day. Like this, every position group you thought would be a problem is a problem. Safety, linebacker, slot corner. It's exposed. The holes are there. There's nothing. There's no coming back.
It's unbelievable when you're like lose everything because Reed Blankenship goes down.
Yes, and I like him a lot. This is his 3rd time being injured this year. So at what point are you like, great player, love his instincts, and great tackle?
That was fluky, though. That was just Ferguson's knee to his head.
But it's him going for a tackle again and yet again getting hurt trying to make a tackle. But another thing, like Ferguson, over the middle, exposed, middle of the field, as it's been the past few weeks.
Twice.
He makes a big catch twice, and then Reed has to come up, make the tackle, gets hit in the head, concussion. Last time it was ribs. It's always something. And it's because there's the exploitation of the same holes again and again and again, and nothing gets fixed. There's no fixing. I want to complain about the offense way more, but it's pretty simple. There's no fixing this defense.
I will say, though, Nicholas Morrow did make a couple plays. He did. I feel like adjusted. He made a couple plays over the middle, a couple throws that, I was like, oh, here we go. We're reverting back to bad Dak. Dak didn't have his A++ game, and he even said it last night. He even said, if I played my A+ game, we were scoring 50 last night, which I don't think he was wrong. But he was high at times. A couple throws, you're like, who? But
I was high for that game.
I will give credit to Morrow. Why is my wife giving me a crying face? I have no idea.
Well, I'll take over while she cries because I'll cry as well. I did think he made plays. Part of that, I think, is human instinct because, the backup is in town. You saw Darius Leonard on the field for a few plays. Gives you a little extra motivation there. So I did think he made a few plays, but all in all, I don't think the linebackers are a strength. No. It was, and nobody should get any credit on the defense when teams go 10 straight possessions scoring on you. And I talked about this on the post game show. It's actually 12 of 14 possessions. The Bills scored on their final possession of the 4th quarter. The Eagles just got the ball back with enough time to send it to overtime.
Yep.
The Bills then scored in overtime. It just so happens that the Eagles had a walk-off touchdown.
Yep.
So it wasn't like they got to stop it to end that game or seal it. It was just that the offense bailed them out and had a walk-off win. And then you go in and you had, you played 1 good quarter against the 49ers, gave up 6 straight, and then 4 more against the Cowboys. No one gets credit when you give up 12 of 14 possessions scored.
Especially a guy that apparently you're not allowed to call him Darius. They have to call him Slay. What is this whole thing? It's unbelievable. Did you hear it all night that they were talking about it on the broadcast?
Yeah, it's been a thing. He said that to the local media before, so I think that was just the national media's
A
first time
loser.
hearing it.
A loser.
I don't get it.
You now have two guys on your team named Darius that you're not allowed to call them Darius.
I never thought that might be the analytic of the night. We've got so many fun facts about the Eagles and their team, and the fact that there's two Dariuses and neither of them actually are allowed to call them Darius might be my favorite fact.
And 17 Jalen's.
17 Jalen's and two Dariuses, but don't call them Darius.
Shaq and Slay. Yeah, I was a little surprised by that. And you know what else I was surprised by was your Georgia Bulldogs. I mean,
Which one?
I would say Jordan Davis, and I mean, okay, we'll give Jalen Carter the touchdown, but that was a Fletcher Cox play. He was just there to run it, and he did rumble, but 44 pass snaps and not one pressure from Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis together, and 34 combined rush plays together, and they had one running stop.
Not great, but I think the Cowboys did a great job of utilizing their playmakers, getting the ball out quickly. What's that?
Tyler Smith? I don't
know. Yeah, I think they won in the trenches. I think that's fair to say, but I do think I'll talk about the Eagles offense and complain and rant about them nonstop if we have time. My biggest problem with them is not being able to get the playmakers the ball in space. I thought the Cowboys did a phenomenal job of that. Right from the get-go, getting the ball out early to Tony Pollard. And the ball's out quickly, so there's no chance to get the rush home on Dak Prescott. Ball's out to Tony Pollard. Ball's out to CeeDee Lamb. And they're just getting the ball out. There's no chance to get pressure with Jalen Carter. And I know, like, Jordan Davis is more of a run stopper, but you're throwing it on first down. But you're completing easy passes to get into rhythm, and you're in 2nd and 4s, 3rd and 2s, easily manageable down and distances.
Yep. And it's Dak has been saying in this scheme now, he's like, I can't believe I haven't been playing quarterback like this my entire career. Like, what even the here you go. Like, I know people make fun of it, but they were bad at the line of scrimmage last year. But this just seems to work for them, for him, for the line, for everybody, to get focused. Here we go. I mean, I love it, but
I hate it. It sounds so annoying. And I'm not saying this is like a biased anti-Cowboys guy. If Jalen Hurts, it would still annoy the hell out of me.
I love it. I don't know why.
God, it's so annoying.
Here we go.
You're right. Didn't mention one Georgia Bulldog. Kaylee Ringo might have had the debut of a lifetime because that was disgusting.
When they called it and they're like, and we have to enforce both penalties. I was like, wait, what? Okay.
Never.
So it's pass interference at 15? Cool.
It summed up the Eagles and just like how spineless the defense looks right now, where the Eagles got points. You're going into the half. It's 1:48 left on the clock. You got to get one stop. You get the ball at halftime. They don't even kick a field goal. They just flat out score a touchdown on you. A big part of that was the situation with Kaylee Ringo getting 2 penalties on one. But he doubled down in the second half and got hurdled, missed a tackle, and then allowed a 40-yard catch to Michael Gallup. So just all in all, the trifecta of just terrible cornerback play.
Just a great debut. We appreciate you. Welcome to Dallas.
God, man, what a debut. I still have high hopes, but not on that.
I will tell you, I never felt like fully comfortable until like the Ferguson 32-yard catch on 3rd and I think it was 3rd and 9 to take it down to like the 25. Because, and they said it, like Sirianni said it at halftime, all they had to do was go down and score, make it, and then it's a whole different ball game. Obviously they went down, they fumbled, but then, the Jalen Carter touchdown, when that happened, I was like, okay, here we go. You have to respond. And the second half, I mean, the Dallas offense sputtered, right? They had a couple field goals. They didn't look crisp and great, but they got it done when they needed to. A couple good like the good challenge with the Rico Dowdle touchdown. That was just unbelievable. That eensy beensy bit of the laces that you could see. I thought no way going into commercial break that I was like, he's in, but they're not going to win the challenge. That's what I
thought
thought.
the same thing, just because there was so much massive human being that is really hard to see anything that's going on. So it's hard to turn it over, but it did look like he was in. So, but I do appreciate them taking Tony Pollard out to score that touchdown. I was
You're
getting
welcome.
a double last night. I was playing against Pollard and CeeDee Lamb in the fantasy playoffs and playing against him in real life. So I wasn't having the best time of my life.
And I mean, CD ended up having a day, but it wasn't like one of his 150-yard days. He didn't need it. On the other side, I mean, AJ was complaining a lot last night. I've never seen. I felt like I saw more of him losing his mind on the field than I have before. But like him and Gilmore just battled all night long, and they each won a couple. But I felt like Gilmore I think that was his best game as a Cowboy. Yeah, he's had a game-sealing interception last week, basically when Deron Bland was getting beat silly in the first half. They switched it, and he took over for Metcalf in the second half, played much better. But, I mean, he played great last night, but it was a battle between two heavyweights. And, I mean, if it's true that A.J. Brown called him old, man, I hope he unlocked the fountain of youth for Gilmore.
He wasn't lying. He is old.
True.
I'll talk about A.J. Brown, but I thought Devontae Smith had his worst game as an Eagle. I thought he was honestly horrible. I think I can say that because I haven't said that about Devontae Smith before. I doubt I'll ever say it again about him. I thought he was horrible. But anybody who had a problem with A.J. Brown being fired up, like he's like I've said this since week 2 when he had the sideline blow up. You can tell who played competitive sports and who didn't based on your opinion on A.J. Brown. Like if you had a problem with him trash talking Stephon Gilmore, he didn't play sports. But at the same time, don't fucking fumble on the first drive of the second half. Like if you should be allowed to trash talk people, but you got to back it up. Yep. If the Eagles take a shot to you and Jalen Hurts lays it on your ball sack, catch the ball at the 2-yard line. Don't fumble. Like you can talk as much trash as you want. Everybody loves it when he's torching other guys. But last night he made crucial mistakes that are very uncharacteristic, and it gets magnified when your 1A played as poorly as Devontae Smith did. He had multiple drops. He had a crucial fumble. They were just bad. They made big mistakes. They were magnified mistakes because it wasn't like a drop on a 2-yard pass. Devontae dropped a touchdown. AJ dropped the ball at the 2-yard line. They both fumbled and turned the ball over. It can't happen.
I will say, I think that pass that he dropped on the sideline, that might have been one of Jalen Hurts' best throws of the year, too.
Oh, and I thought it was a touchdown. Like from release from his hand, I was like, oh, this is a touchdown. And I don't know if he missed.
But are you talking about the Devontae one or the AJ one?
The Devontae one.
I was talking about even the AJ one on the sideline that it went through. I think they were both great throws.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The Devontae one, the AJ one, if you watch the replay, he literally hits him in the balls. You can't do it any better than that. The Jalen to Devontae one, I don't know if Devontae just mistimed it or misread it and just didn't play it right. That's a touchdown.
Yep.
That is an easy touchdown. And they were off. The offense is off. It's rigid. I want to get into it later, but that was a really good battle between Gilmore and AJ Brown, and just getting. I'm not calling them soft. I know people are, but that's just a bad thing to say about a team that's won a lot of battles, lot of battles. And I just thought it was more of a lack of focus, lack of energy thing, which is still pretty despicable. But
and even with Devontae, like that 4th and 9 play that basically sealed the game at the end, where Gilmore tackled him. I felt like I've seen that play 100 times from this offense, and they never get tackled there. I mean, it was a great play. It was a great play on Stephon's part, but I don't know if he was in slow motion or in quicksand, but it just didn't look right.
Okay. Let's set up that drive, because it's the most what the fuck moment of the night. So that's the drive. 2nd down, they go to Devontae Smith. That should be a touchdown. He drops it. He mistimes it, whatever. So you're in 3rd and 11. You go 2 yards on an underneath route to set up 4th and 9. You opt not to kick the field goal to break it down to 11, which should come back to bite you later. And instead, on 4th and 9, go underneath route again for 2 yards. So in the span of 2 plays, you had 2 completions, and got 4 yards total. What the fuck are we doing?
Yep.
Nothing they do makes sense. They make everything 10 times harder than it needs to be on offense. And that was the microcosm of it all, because that was just bonehead. There are things that they can fix. There are overarching problems. That's just stupidity.
Mm-hmm. And I saw more emotion out of Jalen Hurts on the sideline last night. I mean, they showed it a couple times, like not happy with Brian Johnson. And he's close with him, right? He said he wouldn't be the quarterback he is today without him and being his quarterback coach. But just because you're a good quarterback coach doesn't mean you're a great play caller.
No.
Al Harris is getting amazing praise for what he does as the secondary coach of the Cowboys. It doesn't mean he would be a phenomenal defensive coordinator.
He
Sirianni.
I liked his explanation. He's like, I don't even teach scheme. I just he's kind of like me at my job. I don't really teach anything. I'm just doing it with all 5s.
But I think you saw that.
I was literally laughing at that. He was just like, I don't teach scheme. We kind of just look at what the other guys do and just play off that.
But you kind of saw that last night, right? The way, like, we haven't seen the Cowboys D-backs and punch out balls a lot, but like they went for it last night. They must have saw something on tape. And they did it. I mean, and I will say the Eagles had 3 fumbles in the first time we played this year too. They just recovered all 3 of them. Maybe if you lose one of those, the game flips the other way. I'm not saying, whatever. The Cowboys lost that game, but you fumble 6 times against an opponent in one season. I mean, it's not a great thing. I mean, they split it 50-50, won 1, lost 1, but attention to details. It's what I talked about the Cowboys heading into this game. They never have the attention to details in big games. It seemed like the script was flipped last night.
I thought so too. I really thought so too. I want to talk real quick. I think we'll do a lot more Cowboys praise, but I just want to talk about the Eagles offense. Yeah. The defense is a lost cause. The offense, I think, has the ability to be fixed. A lot of it is attention to detail. So Elliott Shore-Parks kind of tweeted today, just going over some of the statistical ranks for the Eagles and their 2023 offense. So points per game, they're 6th. Points per drive, they're 4th. Yards per game, 8th. First downs, 3rd. Third down offense, 3rd. Red zone offense, 10th. Turnovers, 18th. The premise of that is they may not be at passing the eye test, but statistically they are passing the test. But I went back and looked at 2022. Last year, they were 2nd in points per game. They're 6th this year. Last year, they were 2nd in points per drive. They're 4th this year. They're 3rd. Last year, they were 3rd in points per game. 2nd in points per drive, 3rd in yards per game. Last year, this year, they're 8th in points per yards per game. They were 2nd in first downs last year. They were 2nd in third down offense last year. They are now 3rd and 3rd in both of those. They were 3rd in red zone offense. They are now 10th. They were 3rd in turnovers. They're now 18th. I know it doesn't seem like much, but they have regressed in every major statistical category. And it's not like they fell off a cliff, but they've regressed beyond the 2 main competitors in the conference, in the Cowboys and the 49ers. And you saw it last night. A lot of that is attention to detail and scheme on offense. There is regression there. And even if it doesn't feel like a lot, it is a lot when you play 2 teams that have passed them by.
Yeah. And you can attest that to a lot of things, right? Does it, are some of your guys on offense getting a little bit older, and your center and your right tackle? Is Jalen regressing a little bit, or does it completely all fall on the coordinator and the head coach? I don't know. You've watched more of it than I have, or maybe it's you're just not getting the ball into your playmakers' hands enough, or I don't know, using weapon 0 enough.
It's so easy to just blame the coordinator when things go wrong, and it doesn't help him when your 3 best stars each share a fumble in the game. Mm-hmm. But I've never been more frustrated with the offensive scheme than I am in the past few weeks. I want everybody to go look at Michael Pittman's route trees from the past few weeks, and then go look at A.J. Brown's route tree from last night. Tell me what you see is different between the 2, and think about what the common denominator is between what Michael Pittman has now and what AJ Brown does not. We'll tweet it out for you on Birds vs. Boys after this.
I can't
But
wait
I think
to see this.
most Eagles fans know what it is. Go look at the route trees. And if you're not irate after looking at them, I don't know. There's no coming back because I am livid when I look at it. There is no motion. There is no scheme. They have become so predictable and one-dimensional. The Eagles offense is a baseball power hitter who hits 200, doesn't get on base, doesn't draw walks, doesn't steal bases with speed. They strike out most of the time, but then they hit for power and they hit home runs.
Is Giancarlo Stanton?
They're young. Yes, they're Giancarlo Stanton and injured like him. That's what the Eagles offense is, but it doesn't need to be. The lack of creativity to me is stunning. So go look at those route trees with AJ Brown and Michael Pittman, and it tells the entire story. They are not setting themselves up well in the run game with getting the ball to the playmakers. It's hit a home run. Jalen buys enough time till someone extends their route or bust.
Is this a Sirianni has to step in thing or
yes?
What?
Yes. Yeah. It's his team. He's an offensive coach. He's a wide receivers coach. There is no reason for wide receiver to be an issue on this team. And it has been. It's like, that is crazy to me.
Yeah.
If you're mad at safety, if you're mad at linebacker, that's fine. I get it. But to be having wide receiver issues and not being able to scheme your playmakers open with a top 5 tight end, a top 5 receiver, probably 2 top 15 receivers, and DeAndre Swift as your running back with a top 5 quarterback, you're not doing your job.
Speaking of not doing your job, and we talked about how almost lifeless the Eagles looked last night, and we always say it starts from the top. That was the lifeless I felt like I've ever seen Nick Sirianni on a sideline. I don't know if he didn't have his visor. I don't know if it was because Big Dom wasn't with him, but he looked. Usually he has the black circles under. Those looked bigger. His haircut looked terrible. He just didn't look like he was there at all. Like I saw zero emotion from him last night.
None. They were mentally not there. I'm shocked. Again, like I said at the start, I can live with being
losing,
talentless, and having a plan and having a bigger purpose. That is not this. That was a lack of emotion. That was a lack of fire in your belly. And you're right. Probably starts at the top.
How you have a lack of energy and focus and determination going into the house of your biggest rival, coming off the game where you literally got your ass kicked up and down the field. How does that happen?
I have no idea. I truly have no idea. It bothers me because I can't just keep going back to, well, they have an easy stretch to, like, I'm so tired of people putting up the schedule. Like they did it 100 times.
That was going to be a game. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but beyond that, like, it bothers me. Like, but that schedule doesn't matter if you just play with some energy last night and just a lick of passion and fucking hit someone on defense and wrap up and make a tackle. Because Kevin Byard on Tony Pollard, and on offense, like, don't be in 1st and 20 all the fucking time, and then your quarterback probably won't fumble trying to bail the offense out. Like, have some fire, and the schedule doesn't matter if you just win last night.
And even if they didn't win last night, but just I don't. It was just ugly. Something I hadn't seen before in this rivalry in a long time, since like literally. And it Sunday night, the stadium was rocking, and I will say I have heard, there was about probably 15% Eagles fans there, and the reporters are saying more than usual were there. It was not a takeover. I mean, it's 95,000 people, but there were more Eagles fans there than usual. The fans bought into this game. It just seemed like the team didn't.
Well, 15%, that's like 10% more than a 49ers takeover. What they classified as.
But yeah, I couldn't believe, like, we all did predictions last week, right? I said 37-34. Everybody was relatively close, and most people you would talk to, I heard it on Philly radio too. Like, a lot of people thought the Cowboys were going to win this game, right? It's what happens a lot in this rivalry. Philly hasn't won there in a long time. Dallas has been rolling a bit. The game meant a lot to the Cowboys, but I don't think anybody saw an egg being laid at all. Like no offensive touchdowns. Who in their right mind would have predicted that the Eagles had?
No, I did not predict that. But the energy that day, just going pulse check on the group texts, wasn't good.
Really?
It feels a direct quote from one of my friends who I respect his knowledge of the game was like, I feel like I'm just waiting around to watch our own funeral. And
So every time I've had to watch the Cowboys play the Niners in prime time the last 3 years.
Yeah, pretty much. Do you want to get contentious real quick? And then I'll let you do we'll lead it into a bunch of victory laps that you can do. The DeMarcus Ware. Wow, we just hit a motherfucker in the mouth.
DeMarcus Ware's in the Hall of Fame.
Who was this?
DeMarcus Lawrence.
DeMarcus Lawrence. What did I say?
DeMarcus Ware.
Oh, okay. Totally opposite, because didn't he sing the national anthem?
Yes.
Like the voice of an angel? Okay.
Yes, he did.
DeMarcus Lawrence, with his comment after the game, oh, we just hit a motherfucker until they quit, and then we hit him again. By that logic, is that what the 49ers do to you guys all the time? Just hit you in the mouth again and again and KO you? But do they even hit you in the mouth again and again and again, or do they just one round KO you and it's over?
They do it to both of us.
True, but I have beaten them. I have literally KO'd them, knocked their quarterback out of a crucial game. So that bothered me because I'm like, buddy, this has happened to you. We beat you a month ago. You weren't saying, oh, we made them quit a month ago. You weren't saying, you never said that against the 49ers. I don't love that energy.
That's just, that's who he is, and he's the emotional leader of the defense. I love it. The Eagles didn't make the Cowboys quit. It came down to the last second. The Cowboys literally did make the Eagles quit last night.
They did.
When a kicker outscores your entire team.
This is a random topic. 60-yard field goals are just normal now. Dude. Do you remember Janikowski kicked like a 60-something yard field goal and it was in the early stages of red zone and they broke in to be like, it was like OJ on the Bronco chase. Yeah. They were like, you can't believe what just happened. He's on the freeway. He's on the 45-yard line. He's going to kick a field goal. And now it's just like, oh, he just drained it. He could have hit that from 70 if he tried. That kid's amazing. I know Jake Elliott has had his own kicks, but damn, both of those guys, they make 60-yarders look normal.
How many times, too, are the announcers going to just try and kill him by being like, hasn't missed in his career? All right, we know. We got it. Okay? Just let it go.
They're trying to set it up now.
I love that he has the leg that he has and the accuracy, but it could come back to haunt them in the long run a little bit because Mike McCarthy loves long field goals. He just loves long field goals. It's like
so does America.
I think it's porn to him. So on 3rd and 7, instead of trying to get the first down, he's like, no, let's just run this 2-yard dump off and hit a 62-yarder. No, let's still maybe try to get the first down and keep moving because touchdowns are what ultimately are going to, win in the playoffs. That's the only thing. It's like, okay, I'm so happy that you're a weapon, but Mike, let's, we don't need to continuously Google, 60-yard field goal porn in the bathroom.
He has a Brandon Aubrey OnlyFans.
I love how
$9.99 a month. He just watches him rip one from 65.
You probably didn't stick around to watch it, but he got one of the game balls and he was just so awkward on TV. And they're like, so how, what do you attribute this to? Just, working every day, every kick, just doing my thing. And then they asked him something else. And he's like, they asked him another thing. He's like, yeah, it's just real fun. Oh, they're like, 3 years ago, you're playing soccer at Notre Dame. And then, then you were an insurance salesman. What if I told you were going to be here? And he'd be like, wouldn't believe you. And then they were going to ask him another question. He was just like, so they're like, so Dak, went back to Dak.
Pivot. He's like when Ricky Bobby wins his first race and he's just going, I don't know what to do with my hands. He just keeps bringing them up. The reporter's pushing his hands down.
Yeah, the football too. They're like, no.
Wasn't Ricky Bobby talking quiet into the mic too? He's like, yeah, we just got to thank God. And he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
That was Brandon Aubrey.
Well, by playoff time, I'd be like, well, Michelle Tafoya, every day I wake up and I piss excellence.
Oh God, I hope so. Have to give a shout out to I should say our guy, Micah Parsons. He woke up. I don't know if you heard this. He had 103 fever yesterday when he woke up.
Oh, he's contagious. Shouldn't have been able to play. That I was gonna text you. They showed him on the sideline when they were reporting that he was sick. He looked awful.
Yeah, with the man. I
Yeah.
text my friend who lives next to him. I'm like, "Did you get him sick? Because I will come down there and I will find you." I was like Liam Neeson. I
Liam
will
Neeson
find
and
you.
Taken. I have a very particular set of skills.
But I mean, that bull rush to I haven't seen him do that to Lane Johnson ever. I don't think.
No. Well, literally ever, because I think isn't that the first sack Lane Johnson's allowed since 2020?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, Cam Jurgens, take your time. There's a double team there, and he's just standing there watching Lane Johnson just get attacked by a fucking lion. Just everybody on the team had a play last night where you just want to sit them down in the film room and just be like, could you even explain what happened here? Just that would be Cam Jurgens. Like, you had the double team and just didn't.
Explain this to me like I'm 5. That should be Nick Sirianni. He should play that episode.
That's how I feel with the Ohtani contract. It's like, someone explain to me how he gets $698 million in 1 year and $2 million for all the other years.
I was just trying to explain that to my wife. She's like, "Wait, what? How?" But he's going to get so much endorsement money within the next couple of years. He's just trying to make sure the Dodgers are good while he's there, and then basically fuck them when he's done. Like, okay, I'll take all your money now. Thank you.
I know that Bryce Harper wants an extension. What is stopping the Phillies from doing the same thing and just giving him the extension, switching the contract and backloading everything and just giving him $300 million at the end?
They're not.
Okay, I'm in.
I will say too, speaking of Bryce last night, it was cool. But in that, he never once said, "I'm now an Eagles fan." He just talked about the Eagles playing in his city and all that, but he never said, "I am now a fan of the Eagles." I'm not saying he was rooting for the Cowboys or anything. Just stating it. He said, "I grew up a Cowboys fan, but now I play in Philly."
I think you have to be impartial.
Yeah.
Because you're setting up the game. But he wasn't like, and I am sitting next to Mike Trout every game, screaming my head off.
Fuck Dallas now.
Dallas sucks.
Speaking of going against Lions, I mean, and handling his business, I have to tip my cap to Tyron Smith, man. I think we all thought it was done a couple of years ago, and knock on wood,
Jason Peters.
I mean, a 6% pressure rate for the entire season. Like, he's balling out. And I will say you're welcome to Hassan Reddick for that, Olay sack at the end there to get him up to 12 sacks on the season.
Nice. Yeah.
For the second one. That was almost like the Michael Strahan on Brett Favre when he broke the record, and Brett Favre basically just like fell down.
Laid down
to give him the record. I don't know. I want to say the Eagles are dead and buried, but I think we all know that's not true. I think there's things that are fixable, but there's other things that might not be in terms of the defense. We shall see. But now, and I'm not going to go in depth with this, because if you are watching here live, Aiden and I will be doing one of our normal episodes this week. We're going to be recording it on, we said Thursday, right? Dropping on Friday. Yeah. And that actually works out perfectly, because since the Eagles play on Monday. So
damn it.
I know.
I want to go to sleep, man.
I do. Welcome to my life. What did I tell you in the middle of the season when Notre Dame played for 4 straight weeks in prime time at the same time the Cowboys? Just wait till you're my age, man. Sunday Night Football is, waiting all day to watch Carrie Underwood sing for $1 million.
Yeah, it just blows my mind. The math's not mathing on that.
Yeah, you want to talk about contracts. I don't know how'd you get that one, but we will do a full episode on our YouTube page. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, it'll be there. Looking forward, but now it really begins. Dallas having to go to Buffalo now, then to Miami, and then they have Detroit at home. That 3-game stretch, I don't think anybody. You could be Mike Tagg. Actually, Mike Tagg might say they're going to go 3-0, but I don't think anybody thinks they're going through that 3-0, right?
Yeah, I would be worried about next week. I don't want to play the Bills right now. I think Josh
100%
Allen
agree.
is balling out. I think this is some of the best football he's played. They are the classic. They are like me in school. They did not try hard until it was time to try hard, and then you have to go all out, and you end up with an A. But it took a while to get the gears rolling.
And I want to kind of see Buffalo Sunday.
I was going to say, what's the
47
weather?
degrees.
Really? You got
And
lucky on
sunny.
that one. Wow, you got very lucky. I'm assuming this is a 4:25 game, though.
Yeah, so it says
Get
low of
cold.
36. So, I mean, sun will set. That speed that the Cowboys show at home, like that's not going to happen at Orchard Park.
Looks a little different when you're
Yeah.
playing in Buffalo.
Uh-huh.
You know how it's kind of like bright at the Cowboy Stadium, the shining lights down on you. The gods are smiling upon Texas football. That's the opposite in Buffalo. It is gray on the nicest of days.
Yes. And that's the wind whipping through, the tables being broken. It's I think this is where the 5-game win streak comes to an end, but we'll get into that. But I mean, we're tied at the top. We've said this before. If this is your first time watching here, we created this show 3 years ago when Aiden was here pretending he was a rat as Howie Roseman, and now the Eagles have been in the Super Bowl, and now we are at the pinnacle of tied at the top of the division, 10-3, 2 of the top 5 teams in the NFL together. This is what it's all about. They split the season series. And Nate, I'm going to say it right now. I don't think this is the last time we're talking about a Cowboys-Eagles game this season.
I do. First off, if this is your first time watching or listening, this will be your last time because I'm going to put a curly straw in a bottle of bleach and chug it if I have to watch the lack of creativity in this offensive scheme ever again. So enjoy this one if it's your first time. 2, I think it might be our last time because we're looking at the 2 seed right now between one of us.
I know. I want the Eagles to get the 1 seed. If the Cowboys can't have it, I need the Eagles to get it.
It feels like that though, right? Like it feels like you might get a 2 seed, which you make the argument would be easier because you'd probably go like Green Bay. LA is another team I probably wouldn't want to play. And then you'd play the Lions, the 3, and then the 49ers. If one of us ends up the 1 seed, we'll play each other in the second round and then San Francisco. So you can make the argument the 2 seed might actually be easier.
Yep.
The Lions, come on, man. Talk about not being able to stop. Jesus.
Dude. The Bears. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. If I either want the Eagles at the 1 seed and the Cowboys at the 5 or the Cowboys at the 1 seed because I want nothing to do with being the 5 and the 49ers being the 1. Unless we get a miraculous, the Packers beat the Lions. And then
I've been on that for if the Rams are the 6th seed, they're beating the Lions. Do you think Matthew Stafford is losing an away playoff game to the Lions? There's no chance.
No.
And they've been good. Like they lost yesterday, but they put up 31. They tied the game late in regulation. Cooper Kupp played his best game in weeks. Puka Nacua might break the rookie record for receiving yards.
They're
gloves. Good. Kyron Williams back.
Yep. And then they would go to the Niners if the Niners are the 1 seed.
Which would be that'd be entertainment television right there.
So that means if you were the 2 seed, the Eagles would play the Vikings again?
We would play you.
Not in the first round.
Oh, it would be a 7 seed, so it'd be the Vikings or the Packers.
I just feel like the Vikings just always just get thrown into the link.
the Fed to the Lions.
Can you imagine Josh Dobbs lining up on Saturday night at the link?
You know how there's always a character in Stranger Things? You're like, oh, what a heartfelt, good story. I really like this guy. Yeah. And then he just gets fucking devoured.
That's what Case Keenum was.
Yeah. They're like, oh, look at this underdog. Oh, 38-7. That'd be Josh Dobbs. Also, did you watch that game yesterday? I didn't realize until Josh Dobbs got benched in that game, by the way. Another thing that bothered me about DeMarcus Lawrence is like, we hit him again and again and again. It's like, you lost to Josh Dobbs like 2 months ago, man. Okay. Shut up.
Okay. You lost to the MILF Hunter.
But that game was ridiculous. Do you want to talk about the Bills Chiefs for 2 minutes? I feel like the amount of
we can actually end on this because shut the fuck up.
What's your opinion?
Just shut up. Just shut up. Kadarius Toney's an idiot. Like, we all know that. You said that as him getting drafted. Like, are you really bringing up Travis Kelce's Hall of Fame speech right now and what his induction is? Like, I'm surprised. I'm very surprised at how he went off on the field and the press conference after, and Andy Reid's like, why didn't Taylor have a press conference after to tell us how she felt about it?
I think I'd be more in tune with that one.
I mean, what is your thoughts?
I have many. We agree. So
it was a cool ass play. I'm very sad it didn't count.
The play was sick. Yeah, that was awesome. The lateral is awesome. Okay. Everyone who was like, oh, you've never seen that type of emotion from Mahomes before. That was shocking. That was surprising. No, it's not. That's how people react when they're mad and they lose. He's never faced adversity once in his career until this year. They have 2 Super Bowls already. He's playing with the best tight end of all time. They win the AFC West every year. It's just that things are finally not going their way. It's okay to be mad and it's okay to be upset that you lose, but it's like, oh, I can't.
AJ Brown.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, like, because they've never faced anything. Nothing's ever gone wrong for that franchise since he's been drafted. And now something does, and they're having temper tantrums on the sideline because of it. And they're doing it because known dumbass Kadarius Toney lined up so offsides, and it was so blatant that they had no choice but to call it. And I would agree with Mahomes and with the whole rhetoric from their sideline is that it's a tough call to make in that situation. And yeah, if his toe was on the line, I would have been like, let the boys play it out. Let them play. Let the players decide it with these amazing athletes. But he was so blatantly offsides that he had a better chance of being lined up with the defensive line than the offensive line that they had to call it. And if your decision-making process that call was wrong because of the time of the game and you can't call it in that moment, then give me my Super Bowl ring with the argument that I've had since February 8th, 2023, that you can't make a ticky-tack call with the game on the line and the player should decide it. So if that's your argument, give me a Super Bowl parade.
Didn't know that was coming.
Yeah.
I will say also, Patrick, this happened to the Cowboys last year. I don't know if you remember this, but in overtime at Lambeau Field, what happened? There's our rookie wide receiver lining off sides, and they literally lost the game because of it.
I do remember that. And it was one of those ones where it's like, we don't
want
to
call it. He was 7 feet. He was basically, they were on the 35-yard line. He was on the 47. It's just like, what do we do? He was lined up with the safeties, and they were playing too deep.
Yeah. Got a little bit of head start on that one. It's like in track when anything aside from the 100, you can't, or just like the relay baton races, like you get a running start and then they hand it to you. That's what they were trying to do. They're like, all right, you get it going, and then we'll run and hand you the baton.
Could you imagine being in the Olympics and dropping that baton?
I can't. That would scar me for life.
I feel like that's like one of the most stressful moments in all of sports that people don't talk about.
Yeah. Only thing I can equate it to in my life is playing a game of dice and dropping it when you go for the one-hand catch. I feel like probably the same energy, getting roasted by your boys for dropping the dice, dropping the baton in front of the entire world. Probably the same feeling.
You know, it's not the same energy. Cowboys and the Eagles right now. Fan bases, everything's just the energy last night. Again, I am not here saying that the Cowboys are going to win the division. I'm elated with the way that they are playing. I think I'm elated solely also with the effort. It's like the polar opposites of why
Must be nice.
they're showing emotion, they're showing effort, they're doing the little things right. It's almost like the Eagles are turning into the Cowboys a little bit.
Yeah,
The old Cowboys.
why am I begging these guys to try
Play.
hard?
And they can. I think I've heard from 7 Eagles players and coaching staff that the sky's not falling. Okay, well, just do your job. I mean, I
Hey,
hope they don't. I hope the sky continues to fall.
yeah, it's like when there is a tornado warning, it's like the sky isn't technically falling, but that thing's gonna touch ground and it's not gonna be good when it does. That's kind of how it's felt the past 2 weeks.
But I will tell you, and I'll end on this. I mean, we saw it yesterday. Like the Vikings won 3-0 against a bad Raider. Like the level of football in this league right now, beyond the top 4 or 5 teams, is dreadful. And guess what? More than 4 teams make the playoffs. So you just got to get hot at the and that's also like you have to peak at are the Cowboys peaking at the wrong time right now, and the Eagles are in that lull, and maybe they'll peak again. I don't know. That's the scary part, but
I kind of like that. So we've been playing all these national televised games, Chiefs, Bills, Cowboys, 49ers. Everyone has a big storyline. It'll be nice to like play famous last words, but it'll be nice to be play the Giants at like 1:00.
yeah.
I just want to be under the radar. Let everyone talk about the Cowboys. Let everyone talk about the 49ers. Dak for MVP. Let's get the campaign going. Let us figure out offensive creativity. We'll have a few brain blasts in the offensive meetings this week. Let's get back on track and nobody talk about us for like a month. And then we'll show up for
imagine, imagine using like a 5'9" fast as hell punt returner on sweeps and motions in offense. It's awesome.
We're slow. That's another thing. They seem slow.
Stuck in mud. And this is my last thing. I've said that 4 times, but you, my mom, everybody, I think, saw that damn fake punt coming, except for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I liked it.
Like they couldn't punt the ball away there and let the Cowboys score again. And like you saw Zacchaeus lined up, and I'm like, what are we doing here? 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 And he just like took that second. I go, as soon as I saw this, I'm like, oh God.
It's a good
and throw. It was a great throw.
Yeah. And maybe use Zacchaeus. And then next play after that, what was it? Do you remember?
I don't. I think
Tackle
I was so
for loss.
Yes. Oh yeah, from Osa Odighizuwa. Yep.
And they had
Chris Collinsworth. Osa Odighizuwa. No, you said it wrong all night.
They butchered his name multiple times last night.
Osa Odighizuwa. Thank you very much.
If they lose it, they can use our song that we created last year for them.
Very true. Oh my, I forgot about that. All right, Aid, we're just under the hour mark here. Let everybody know, if it is your first time, if you're watching live, where they can get full episodes and all that jazz.
You can find Kevin at Birds vs. Boys Pod on Twitter. A lot of content these past few weeks and a lot more to come. We post all of our clips on both TikTok and Instagram at Birds vs. Boys Pod. And then where you're finding us now, live on YouTube and also on Twitter. Make sure to subscribe anywhere that you can find podcasts. And you can find me in a bathtub filled with my toaster plugged in and plunged in right next to me and electrocuted and hopefully dead, because I cannot watch any more route trees from these receivers that are horrible.
And I will auction off his Mercedes-Benz to pay for the funeral costs.
The Eagles run their offense like my headlights run on that car. Why are they facing straight down? It doesn't make sense. Make them go straight, and I can't figure it out. I'm driving a nice car, and my headlights are not driving me right. It's the same as Brian Johnson driving the freaking Eagles offense
into the ground.
The headlights go straight in this nice car.
Maybe they can't see straight. Maybe that's why.
It feels like it. They are my Mercedes right now.
Cowboys win 33-13. The Eagles did not score an offensive touchdown. It was so much fun. Our kicker outscored the Eagles. All has been settled and is right in the world for the next couple days until the Cowboys go to Buffalo, and then we'll see how the world is again. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We will have a full episode out on Friday as we look forward to the Cowboys in Buffalo and the Eagles in Seattle. Oh, go Cowboys. So much fun.